Also, Republican or conservative news outlets are going to be people like Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, the Fox News channel for the most part, but there are certain times of the day that they're going to be a little bit more left wing than they are right wing. Shepard Smith is a little bit more left wing. But you have a lot of Fox commentators. You have the balanced and fair whole thing that they try to go for. And for the most part, I think it is pretty balanced and fair. They talk about truth and facts. They don't go into speculation. And even if the people on one of their shows, if they are left wing or right wing and they go into speculation, the host normally goes back and says, "Hey, that's speculation. We're talking about facts." So Fox is a pretty good news channel to be able to, see what's really going on. I mean, to hear both sides of the story. You have other people like Eric Erickson. He's kind of a moderate, but the truth of the matter is this: listening to both sides of the story and getting several different perspectives is really important on being able to understand the truth about what's going on. If you want to believe lies and you don't really care about the truth, then sure, by all means, just listen to MSNBC all your life and you'll be brainwashed to believe what they tell you to believe, okay? But I have a feeling that most of you out there, especially millennials and young people, want to really know what's going on. So this is kind of an instructional video to show how you get into understanding what's really going on. I also recommend watching C-SPAN. Just watch a couple of hours of C-SPAN. It's really interesting because you get to see how these senators are actually behaving when they talk to one another and when they talk to people if they're in an investigation. You get to see that even the people in our government are not perfect, and even the people in our government have biases, and some of them have their own agenda. And it's important to know that because I think it's I think most people think the best out of our government system, and they think, well, we've got great people in high places, and we never need to question them. But that's not true. You always have to carry a grain of speculation with you. If somebody comes out and says something, hear it for what they're saying, but also investigate. I mean, some people are just not telling you the truth. And why should we be lied to all the time and just simply believe what people tell us? What really gets me about what the media has done in regards to Trump, it doesn't matter if you like Trump or not, the truth is this: the media was running stories that was unverified claims and anonymous sources, okay? But what they were doing is running with the story as though it was fact. But no one could verify the claim, and the person who came out to say that the claim had actually happened could not be reached for commentary. So you've got people in the government that just quote leaked. Now, we don't even know if someone actually leaked. We don't even know if this person who was an anonymous source is actually an anonymous source. It could have been somebody in the media, one of the editors decided to lie. And let's just put this out there and we'll say an anonymous source gave it to us, and this is what they said. I mean, we have no way of verifying that this person was actually in the government, that was actually near or being able to tell us exactly why and how he knew this information, or he or she. So a lot of times I think, honestly, with the media nowadays, the left-wing media, I should say, there's no way of telling whether or not what they're saying is true or not. There are lots of biases in the left-wing media. They're only going to drive a Democrat narrative. That's it. That's all they're going to drive. So it's important to know that. So if you're someone who's just getting into politics and you want to research this matter and find out what is really going on and where do I fit in the whole political ideology, then it's very important to know the true distinction between a Democrat and a Republican, okay? Now, there are a lot of off branches to both, right? So Democrats claim that they're the party of the LGBT community. That's totally fine. I have nothing against LGBT. But what the Democrats are trying to do is make you think that only Democrats are allowing rights and liberties to LGBT, and that Republicans hate them and they're all a bunch of homophobes. But that simply is not true. Okay? The Republic allows LGBT, our Republican system, the Republic of the United States of America, does allow individual freedoms and rights. Okay? And it doesn't matter what your sex or creed or religion or anything, it doesn't matter. But the Democrats want you to believe that Republicans are against all that stuff when in fact they're not. Republicans believe strongly in individual liberties, individual rights, and individual freedoms. The Democrats are the ones who claim that they are the only ones who are nice enough to these communities. The problem is that the people in those communities are only hearing from the Democrat side. They're not desiring to hear any other aspect other than what they are believing. They're not looking at the truth. They're looking simply at claims, accusations. That's all they're looking at. If you were to go to talk to somebody who's in the head honcho of the LGBT community and you were to find out what do they know that Republicans believe in, what have Republicans done to pass legislation in order to help LGBT communities, I bet you they could not answer it. They would not be able to know. They're just going to simply say, oh, they're a bunch of racists and they're homophobes and all this stuff. So if you believe in the LGBT community and you want them to succeed, that's cool. That's great. But it doesn't mean that makes you a Democrat. Okay, and that's the main thing. Just because you are socially liberal, social liberal is actually a good thing in my book. To be socially liberal is fine. But to be social in our government, a social, what they call socialism for our government is not a good idea. So socially liberal as far as our culture and things like that, sure, there should be a definition. Everybody should be able to do some of the things that they want to do, right? As long as it's not hurting or killing or defaming somebody, sure, right? We all have the rights to do that. But just because you believe in LGBT does not mean that you are a Democrat, okay? I am a Republican, and I believe in the ability and the rights of LGBT community, okay? I believe they should do whatever the hell they want to do. It's none of my business. I don't care. But when people start forcing their views on you and telling that you have to believe the way they believe, that is not American, okay? Americans have the right to choose to believe and choose not to believe, okay? They can do what they truly want to do as long as they're not hurting anybody or causing rift to where, they're breaking laws. But even Republicans believe in LGBT communities. Now, you have some conservatives who don't believe that, just like in the Democrat side. But all of the Democrats are going to claim that they're totally for and Republicans are against, and that's not true. So it's very important to know when you have people who are talking about the environment and climate change. Democrats claim to be the party of climate change, right? That they're the only ones that believe in climate change. They're the only ones who are doing anything to stop climate change. But that's not true. There are Republicans who do believe in an extent a certain degree of climate change is important, that we need to stay on top of making sure that our emissions are not overrunning the world. But the true statistics and the true facts are that China is the leading country in pollution. Okay, the United States has done a humongous amount in regulations to cause businesses to cap off their emissions, but it doesn't mean that we don't have any emissions. We do have some emissions, but we are the greatest country on earth as far as decreasing our emissions. The United States is big, but China is bigger, and China has a lot more people than the United States, and people are not comparing and realizing and seeing the contrast between what the United States is doing and what China's doing. China is creating like 10 times more emissions than the United States, okay? And everybody's trying to make out the United States to be some horrible country because we don't believe in climate change. No, there are certain aspects of climate change that we do want to pay attention to. We want to lower emissions, yes. But what Republicans are saying is that terrorism is a little bit more important than climate change right now. But Democrats, like Obama, he did not believe that. He believed that the reason for climate change was because terrorists didn't have jobs. I mean, that's what he actually said. Go look it up. That in order to stop terrorism, we need to give people jobs. That's the reason why they're terrorists. It's nothing to do with their ideology. It's just asinine. I mean, so I completely understand why people are confused, why Democrats say things and why Republicans are getting blamed for all kinds of things, and people don't know what in the world to believe. Just listen to both media outlets. Listen to MSNBC for about 30 minutes. Then watch the Fox News channel for about 30 minutes. You will see a huge distinction in fact and detail and logic, okay? The bias of the Democrat Party is so thick and so rich that they're not allowing any logic to come in. But most of the reason why they're not allowing that logic to come in is because they have an agenda and they think differently than the American ideology that has founded this country. They do not believe in the Constitution. They do not believe in a government controlled by the people. They do not believe in individual responsibility, that people can govern themselves. They believe that they should overlord us. So even though you may have beliefs that the Democrat Party claims that they are all about, like LGBT and climate change, I would not consider yourself Democrat just because of that. You have to understand that Democrats, they throw these things out there as candy to draw people in. It's okay to believe in those things, but when you're solely selling yourself to the Democrat Party, you need to really understand what they're all about before you give it all to them. Okay, so it's okay to and if you decide that you know what, you're right. I don't like the way the Democrats are acting. I don't believe in America being funded, driven that way. Then you can consider yourself an independent, right? You can say I'm moderate. I believe in climate change. I believe in LBT. I believe in fiscal responsibility. Then that makes you kind of an independent, and I think that's probably the best place to be, because right now it's extreme left, it's extreme right. And it's good for us to have conversations. But the moment that somebody ends your conversation because they don't want to hear it, that is when the American ideology that we know, the American Constitution, the civil society that we have right now starts to plummet. So we should always engage in logical and real thought and speech and make sure that we're double checking facts and we're getting the right information. So anyway, this is the end of my video today. Y'all have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.